This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Armenia and the United States launched negotiations yesterday on a cooperation agreement for the peaceful use of nuclear energy, the Armenian Foreign Ministry reported. Deputy Foreign Minister Robert Abisahomanian delivered opening remarks at the video conference marking the start of talks on a so-called 123 agreement between the two governments. U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State Gonzalo Suarez, Armenian Ambassador to Washington Narek Makirtachan, and U.S. Ambassador to Armenia Kristina Kveen also spoke at the opening. The Deputy Foreign Minister stressed that the safe and reliable use of nuclear energy for peaceful purposes is one of Armenia's priorities, adding that Yerevan remains committed to the principles of the international non-proliferation regime. The sides welcomed the fact that practical steps are already being taken following the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding in Washington on August 8th. The cooperation concerns Armenia's sole nuclear power plant at Metsamor, commissioned in 1976 and expected to run until 2036. The government is actively looking for a replacement, with Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan announcing last year that Armenia could build a new modular US-designed plant. The issue is complicated by the fact that Russia currently helps Armenia operate Metsamor, extend its lifetime, and supplies nuclear fuel. Under US federal law, a 123 agreement is required for cooperation on nuclear programs abroad. Washington currently maintains such agreements with 48 countries and territories. This development follows the Charter on Strategic Partnership, signed between the Armenian and US governments in January, which explicitly mentioned nuclear cooperation. Armenian police announced yesterday that it has solved the high-profile murder of Valodya Grigoryan, the mayor of Parakar, a suburb of Yerevan, who was gunned down last week. Grigoryan was shot dead alongside a friend, an off-duty police officer, outside his home in the village of Merzavan on Tuesday. Another man who was with them was wounded and hospitalized, but survived. Two suspects have been arrested in connection with the crime, the alleged gunman and his accomplice. Police said the detained shooter confessed and led investigators to the automatic weapon used in the killings, as well as to the clothes he wore during the attack, which he later tried to burn. He has been charged with double murder, attempted murder, and illegal possession of a firearm. His name has not been disclosed. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan condemned the killings, hinting in his statement that he was dissatisfied with the failure to prevent the continuing violence in Parakar despite his earlier instructions. Following the attack, he dismissed the regional police chief of Armenia province. Police have established a connection between the mayor's murder and a February homicide in the same village, in which the suspect's brother was killed. In that case, several people were arrested, including Grigoryan's brother Paikar, who was released under house arrest on bail of roughly $28,000. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan used his address at the United Nations General Assembly in New York on Thursday to criticize Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev's use of the term Zangezur corridor to describe a proposed route in southern Armenia. It was Pashinyan's first direct response since last month's peace declaration signed at the White House. The expression Zangezur corridor is not in the documents agreed in Washington, Pashinyan said, stressing that in Armenia the phrase is seen as a territorial claim and part of confrontational rhetoric. He urged the international community to note that such language does not stem from agreements and has a provocative and negative impact. Pashinyan, however, opened his speech by declaring that peace has been established between Armenia and Azerbaijan, while cautioning that it requires daily care like a newborn child. He referred to the August 8th Washington agreements and the US-backed Trump route for international peace and prosperity, which he said will close the chapter of enmity between the two nations. Both Azerbaijan and Turkey continue to refer to the route as the Zangezur corridor, a term they have used since the 2020 war. The route is expected to connect mainland Azerbaijan with its Nakhichevan exclave through Armenia's Sunak region, overseen by a private American-Armenian firm. In the latest business news roundup, covering last week's economic developments, we bring you updates on the government's takeover of Armenia's national power grid and a new agreement enabling cross-border trading between the main stock exchanges of Armenia and Poland, which raises hopes for improved capital access for Armenian companies. Follow the link below to watch the full digest. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.